Okay, next is another jazz album. This came out, this is called The Genius After Hours. It came out on Atlantic Records in 1961, I think, or around 61, after Ray had left Atlantic. This is sort of made up of outtakes from Ray's few jazz sessions at Atlantic. And there's some great stuff on here. It's a great title. It's really appropriate. The Genius After Hours. It has a very late night jazz club, bluesy kind of feel. It's got a great song called Dawn Ray. It's really good. Fairly short, but good. The next album is his first album for ABC Records. It's got some of his best stuff, but it's kind of controversial in Ray Charles circles. The Genius Hits the Road. This was another concept album, maybe his first concept album. All of these songs are about places in the United States. So it's Alabama, Georgia, Basin Street, Mississippi, Vermont, New York, California, etc., etc., etc. Of course, it has Georgia on My Mind, one of his very, very top famous songs. But there's some very, very silly stuff on here. Most famously, where is it? Deep in the Heart of Texas, which is just an odd arrangement and very, very corny. And expectations were really high for Ray when this album came out, and it's a little bit slight, but Alabama Bound is a whole lot of fun. And he did travel around, so he knew about traveling around. I like the cover. I like the big yellow cover. Deep in the Heart of Texas, huh? Okay, next is another jazz album. It's called Jazz Number 2. This is really good because it has Our Suite, which is about 7 or 8 minutes long. It's another gatefold album. You can see the whole thing there. So like that. Our Suite is, 8 minutes long. It's really, really good. The band, his orchestra, his Ray Charles Orchestra, is so tight on here, and it's just impossibly complex music done perfectly. And Ray actually plays piano. It's an instrumental jazz album. Ray plays piano, but it's mixed very low. It's kind of like he's like the band leader, but he's not the instrumental leader necessarily. So Jazz Number 2, which came out in 1972. Great. This is another concept album, kind of. It's called Have a Smile with Me. It came out in 1964 or so. And it's all lighthearted, sort of almost comedy songs. For example, The Thing, which is one of my favorites on here, which is just sort of a joke song that had been around for about 20 years. The Man with the Weird Beard. The Naughty Lady of Shady Lane, which has a nice punchline in it. One of his most famous songs on here, Smack Dab in the Middle, which is just not a comedy song, but it's a lot of fun. This album was meant to offset his album that had come before it, which was all songs about crying. So that's why he's supposedly smiling and laughing in these pictures. 36 is this one. And I only have the CD. It did come out, it came out in 1993. It came out on vinyl in Germany, and I don't have a copy of that yet. It's called My World. My World was a great return to form. Some of his famous songs on here were, I think My World is good. A Song for You, the Leon Russell song. Still Crazy After All These Years, the Paul Simon song. This is my copy, which is a Japanese CD copy. Anyway, a very, very excellent return to form, I think. Okay, the next album is kind of a two-parter, not really. It's called Together Again. It's him, Ray Charles, trying to go back to the well that made him a super-duper star internationally, which was Modern Sounds and Country and Western Music albums. This came out in 1965, 3 years after those. It's fantastic. It's just Ray doing country music, but not exactly in a country style, at least not in the modern sense. It's got the great song Together Again, of course. Don't Let Her Know, which is just fantastic the way he does it. Blue Moon of Kentucky is on here. This is really good. Ray sounds, honestly, a little bit tired on this album. This is the final album that he recorded and released while he was still addicted to heroin. And you can see he's pretty ravaged during it. It's still great, because he never really got totally swamped in drugs, I guess. I guess that's debatable. But anyway, this is a really fantastic album. It probably should be higher on this list, actually. And it actually came in two guises. It came in Together Again, which has a cool cover, and this cover. This is the same album, with a different cover and a different title, Country and Western Meets Rhythm and Blues. Another one of those classic Ray albums. So it's the same songs in the same order. So take your pick. I like this one. Although that would be good to display if you really wanted to impress your friends. Another jazz album here. This is My Kind of Jazz from 1970 or so, or 71. It's another gatefold. Very cool cover. There's Ray on the back. This was had a very big hit song on it called Booty Butt, which was a kind of instrumental with mumbling and shouting in it. Has Sidewinder, which is a Lee Morgan song. Passione Blues. Zigzag is a lot of cool. Zigzag has these two horns that kind of... They do zigzagging back and forth across each other. Look at that cool hand. Anyway, My Kind of Jazz. A great one there. Ray's first country album of the 80s. Wish You Were Here Tonight, 1983. This was the first album he released in about two and a half years, and it was very different than anything he had done. He was famous for his country music, but it was always country music. This was straight up pedal steel guitar, fiddle, country music. Ain't Your Memory Got No Pride at All. Song titles like that. Some great stuff on here. String Bean is very silly. I don't know if I'd recommend that one exactly. Ain't Your Memory Got No Pride at All is one of the best. I Don't Want No Stranger Sleeping in My Bed. It's just like a honky-tonk kind of thing. So this was Ray's new guys in the 80s, at least for a few years. And this is a lot of fun. A little bit tentative based on what came afterwards, but still worth it. Okay, now in the late 70s there was disco, and Ray tried his hand at disco, and people put it down. This next album, would be a lot of people's last album, the first on this list, the lowest ranked. But I kind of like it. It's called Love and Peace. There's a little bit of disco-y stuff on it, but Ray's disco is not like other people's disco. Ray's disco is tough, it's soulful, he seems to just be enjoying himself. What can you say? A Piece That We Never Before Could Enjoy. It's a good song. You 20th Century Fox on here. She Knows, which is a really good song. Riding Thumb is a lot of fun. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, next is another CD only one. This has never been released anywhere at all on vinyl. But here's the CD. It's called Strong Love Affair. Ray's output really slowed towards in the last 10 years of his life, but this came out in 1996. Again, I think he didn't play a lot of the keyboards and synthesizers on here, but it shows Ray. He was, how old was he? 66? 66 when this came out, 65 when it was recorded, I think. And he's just as randy and energetic as ever. It's a great album. All She Wants to Do Is Love Me. Angelina is on here. It really shows how complex of a guy he was, even at this late stage in his life. Well, especially at this late stage, he hadn't forgotten his kind of earlier youthful earthiness, but he also had this kind of majestic backdrop for it all. And it's really a whole lot of fun and very impressive.